everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition. And today we are going to talk about a couple of different topics. I've been doing a lot of physical body upgrades. So I have not really been online at all for almost 2-3 weeks, I think. So I'm going to throw a couple things in here. So hopefully we're going to flow with it and see how it goes. First topic I want to talk about is falling out of love with stuff. And this is something that happens through a lot of our ascension process. And it happens in our human experience too. But in our human experience, we tend to fight it more. And in the beginning, because that is our experience we're pulling from, when we start going through our awakening and our ascension, we start to fight it on the ascension front too, because we feel like we're supposed to stay in love with everything forever. We're not supposed to change. And I'm not so much talking about romantic love. I mean, you can take it there. There are some offshoots of that. I'm talking more about stuff you're doing. Places you're going, places you live, what you're doing for work. These are some things that we start to not love them anymore. We start to fall out of love with this stuff because it is not stuff that is meant to carry forever. But in our human experience, everything is meant to carry forever. Like our human makes very rash choices. Our human consciousness just rushes into everything. Or it can also do like the offshoot of that, where it doesn't rush into anything ever. It really never even moves at all. Technically, you can't never move at all, but it kind of can feel like that. But even when we're not moving at all, when we do decide to move, we make very rash choices. We don't sit there and think about what we're doing. Even when we are making these rash decisions, we don't think about others. We just kind of I have to do something. So my back's against the wall. I got to do something, so I'm just going to do it. You don't make a lot of rash decisions in ascension, even if they seem rash to people watching them. They seem rash to people looking at them because they're not what a human consciousness would do. So they seem illogical, they seem rash, they seem reactionary, even though we know we're supposed to do them. And normally, because they're so illogical, we set on them for a long time and we don't do them. We don't leave that job. We don't sell that house. We don't do those things. We really take these timelines all the way to the end because we don't want to have to let them go. We don't want them to end. Even though we might have been saying, bring me the new stuff, bring me the new stuff, we tend to disconnect that we have to let go of the old stuff for the new stuff to come in. That is one of the biggest things you're going to learn during your ascension process, is you have to let go of the old for the new to come in. They're different vibrational frequencies. They're different realities. They cannot exist together. You probably started to notice this in a lot of things you'll do. Like these two people you might meet out, but they're never in the same place at the same time. They exist in different vibrations. They exist with different aspects of you. Like you could go to this, I remember I would go to the same spot for like a good year. I went to the same spot and I knew who was there that night, who would not be there that night, because they didn't exist in the same reality. They existed in a different one. So you start to notice these things, and these things we pick up on them, and our human normally might not pick up on them, but we start to pick up on them. We start to notice them. We start to see it, see the patterns of the reality and how it's created. And once we start to notice that, you start to understand what we have to do. And it's okay to not love stuff anymore. And in our human consciousness, we would continue to push ourselves through what we didn't enjoy. And that was one thing COVID did, was take everyone out of everything and then say, okay, now rearrange your life, rearrange your realities to what you enjoy. Because everything else, you're not going to put yourself in any physical danger to do it, right? And that was the caveat for COVID. That was what made humans move. It was a physical threat. A physical threat, the human consciousness will move. It will run over. It'll run over anybody to get out of there. It's not going to. It's like that scene from Jaws when the kid with the fake fin. Spoiler alert for Jaws. If you haven't seen it, it's like 50 years old. It has the fin and he's running around trying to pretend like he's a shark, and everyone runs out of the water. They trample people, they run over people to get out of the water. That's human consciousness, okay? You can try to fool yourself that it's something else, but that's human consciousness, and that's what it does. And it'll trample itself to get away from it'll trample everyone to get away from a threat. And that's what COVID did. It removed everybody. It said, okay, we're taking you out of everything. Now you're going to rearrange it to what do you really want to do? What do you enjoy? Because when your life is on the line, you're only going to do stuff that you're going to feel is worth it. That either it could be a money component to it, but even after a while, even that will wear thin with a lot of people, and they wouldn't even come back for the money anymore because they really just didn't like it. So COVID forced humans to look at it. Ascension will force you to look at it, but it's an energetic look at it in a sense. And it's not saying you won't have a physical reality to back you up, that you go there, you don't feel good when you're there, your energy gets drained, your energy, your light body, your ascended body, in a sense, starts really feeling the vibrational mismatches. And that's what it is. It's just vibrational mismatches. You don't even have to say, I don't love it anymore. It's just a vibrational mismatch now. And it can get harder when it's people, because we don't like to let go of people. Some of the people would always say, oh, I've been friends with this person for 30 years, or I've known this person my whole life. And it was some kind of pride in that for our human, that we had all these old friends that stuck around. And then you go through Ascension and you're like, I don't know if I even want any of these people around anymore. I don't know, we're just not a match. And some people hang on for a long time. I've had a couple people that hung on through a lot of my journey through Ascension, like 5, 6, 7 years of it. And then all of a sudden, it's just now it doesn't work anymore. Now it's such a vibrational mismatch. It's now falling apart. So just because it doesn't fall apart in the beginning doesn't mean it might not fall apart later, when the vibrational mismatch becomes too much, and when it becomes too strong, and you can't really see past it, and you can't go back. Our humans always want to go back. We want to go back, we want to fix that, we want to go back, we want to tweak that, we want to go back and do it differently, we want to go back and fix it. There are different timelines or different frequencies. You can't ever go back, because the timeline you're in now, experiencing the reality, is not the one you started in when you started the reality. So you can't go back and change anything. You can't go back and fix anything. You can only go to the next reality, take what you have learned, take a new vibrational frequency, and start all over again. You can't recapture it, because everything's different. And I did a video, I don't know, this was not the topic of the video, but it was just kind of a point that in, I think it was The Last Guardian, it was The Last Guardian of the Galaxy movie, when the what's his name? Chris Pratt's character was in love with the other, I can't think of anybody's name right now, the Gamora, I can't think of the actress that plays her, and she's very famous. But it was a different version of her, a version that had not gone through the stuff they'd gone through together. They were meeting at a different time, and they just couldn't work because they were both so vibrationally different. When he really looked at her, he really realized they had nothing, it was nothing there, because the realities, it was a different reality. They were in different vibrational frequencies. That was a different reality, a totally different aspect of her, and that was not the one he had. So, you start to see how a lot of these realities just kind of go away because we just don't love them anymore. And if you don't love them anymore in Ascension, even if it takes a while to come to that reality and to admit it, we don't like to admit we don't love stuff anymore. It can be stuff you've put a lot of time and energy in. There's been a lot of stuff over the years that I put a lot of time and energy in, and then I just kind of left it because I just didn't like it anymore. It was too much work to put it, I used to post on a lot of different platforms, and I pulled back on a lot of that because it takes too much of my day. And I don't want to sit here all day and post on 15 different things. There's enough stuff out there. There's enough of my stuff out there in a couple places. And if you're looking for it, you can find it. But you will notice in Ascension that your cadences change, your patterns change. Everything starts to change, and you might start to feel different about certain things in different places, and we kind of take a lot of that for if you look at what you like and what you don't like. We're kind of going to go into a different topic now, but I'm going to try to throw a couple of different topics in because I don't really want to make 3 different videos, so I'm going to throw a couple of different ones in. When we talk about vibrational frequencies and things matching up, and and the consciousness of a person. And not everyone has their same vision of what they want to do. Even in heavenly frequencies, not everyone has the same vision. People are going to, even conscious people, ascension consciousness, people who are going through the same journey you are, they're not in the same place. They don't have the same vision of what you might want to do. It's not the vision of what they want to do. Everyone has a different vision of heaven, a different version of what that looks like for them. It's not this cookie cutter thing that everybody wants to do the same thing. That's the human imprint on a reality that a lot of people do. Think these many people are going to become accountants, and then we're going to have these people are going to be movie stars, these people want to be artists, and these people want to be lawyers, and then we're going to have a subset of people who want to be doctors. In the human reality, we were kind of lumped a little bit more together. In Ascension, you're going to find you kind of do a lot of things. It would be like being a doctor and a lawyer and an artist all in the same day. That's kind of what it's like. Because you have a lot of different skills you learn to do, and right when you almost perfect it, you're shown to move on to something else. To move on to something else, to get away from that for a while, go do something else for a while. I've had a project that I've been trying to do for literally months, and it's still sitting there, and I'm like, my humans is go do it, and there's a part of it that's like, I'm not ready yet. And sometimes it's like the frequency's not there yet. The time is not right yet. And on the other side, it can be we're procrastinating it too, and we're wasting time. And I know the last couple physical body upgrades I went through the last couple weeks, I realized I was wasting a lot of time. There's a lot of times during the day when I was wasting. And we have to look at that. Like, what is this bringing to the day? What is this an activation? What is this doing? Or am I just kind of trying to kill time? Waste time, let it collapse on me. And these are just questions we have to ask. So like if we want to build realities with people, and they want to maybe move to Japan, and they want to do something over there, and you're like, I don't really want to do that. We have this, you're going to feel a pull to certain things. A lot of people don't, they'll say, oh, it could be, you would see a lot of people say these are past life reasons why you don't want to go there, you want to go there. I like to look at certain things as multidimensional reasons. You might be super interested in Egypt, and you want to go to Egypt because in a different reality right now, you're having a really amazing life in Egypt, and you want to go experience that. Whereas you might not want to go to certain places in Europe because in this space and time, in a different reality, you're now having a pretty shitty life over there, and you have no desire to ever go there and no desire to experience it. And it might flip and flop as that version of you's reality continues to go on and on and on. It can flip and flop, and you might say, no, I kind of want to go there. Maybe there's an upturn in that consciousness over there. Maybe I'll go over there now. Maybe I'll never want to go there. These are just, you want to start thinking about things not as black and white. It's multi-dimensional reasons. Everything has layers to it on why you want to do it, why you don't want to do it. You have to go deeper in Ascension. And that's the point of everything. Everything in Ascension is going deeper. What is the reason for that? Why do I not want to do it? But everyone wants to go to this one place and I have no desire to ever go there. I just don't want to do it. Are you going to find yourself all over the place? As much as this video is all over the place, and I am aware. It's okay though. It's my first time back in like 3 weeks, so it's going to be a little all over the place. So it's all right. We're going to get through it. Analyzing our realities and analyzing what we created and tearing it down and then dreaming a new one. There's, it's funny. I was watching Sandman, right, on Netflix, The Sandman, and they go through the endless. They have these. We're going to call them entities, even though I don't like that. But for the purpose of that story, they have these entities. They have destiny. They have death, dream, destruction, desire, despair, and what's the last one? Oh, I was right there too. Delirium, right? And they're all just doing their thing. They have their own realms, and a lot of what we create in Ascension is really kind of all around these things. What do we desire to do? What do we dream to do? How do we create it? How do we destroy it? We watch the death of it, then we start all over again. It's this endless cycle. It's just what we do. And our human realities that kind of occurs to us, but it doesn't. We're still creating it, but in our human consciousness, we don't take that on. So we're a victim to it. We're a victim to what we created. Now I don't want that anymore. Now I'm a victim to this. Now I don't want that anymore. A lot of people start going through certain things at certain ages, because that's when certain ascension things flip on for people, and that's why they call these patterns like a midlife crisis, because a lot of people at that certain age start to not like what they've created. They want to create something different. They don't really like themselves as much as they thought they would. They got with a lot of stuff they wanted, but all of a sudden it's not enough anymore. So let me look for something else. These things happen to certain markers in the human life to move people to the next place. They move people to the next ascended reality. They're moving people along. Everything in your life is moving you along. Now, you can go willingly into ascension, or you can wait till it comes on for you. And there's a lot of iterations of this. Everyone's got a time and place. They have different years when it's like, this is when their awakening is going to start, and then they're going to go into their ascension process. There are some people that are not going to ascend in their bodies here, and they're going to just transition out, going to go through their own version of ascension, transition out through death, and then come back and ascend through in their body on this planet through a different body. Everyone kind of has a different plan. They have a different way they're going to go. But basically, ascension kind of puts you through this. There's this old adage that, if you can't do something for a long period of time, just do it concentrated and do it for a short period of time. A lot of times if you couldn't do certain things, that's some of the advice you might have heard. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever heard that, but I actually wrote it down, so I'm gonna talk about it for a minute, because I wrote it down the other day. So important to me, I texted it back. I will text it to myself so I remember to talk about it. Like if you don't want to take a long bath, but you're like, I really want to do Epsom salts. Let me do a cup of Epsom salts and I'll soak for 20 minutes. Wait, let me do 2 cups of Epsom salts and let me soak for 5 minutes, right? Because that's what I want to do, and I don't want to sit here for 10 minutes. That's kind of the theme of that saying, if you can't really do it for a long period of time, we're going to just make it more intense, or you're going to do it for a shorter period of time. Now, time is, of course, always relative. What is a shorter period of time? Is rebuilding your whole your life in ascended realities. Let's say you start through your awakening, and let's say you're 7, 8, 9 years later where you actually start building things that are more sustainable, and you're starting to build ascended realities, because now you've closed out all the ones that were not ascended realities. And someone would say, well, gee, that's a long time. 7, 8 years, are you serious? That's a really long time. It feels like a long time because we wanted it to be quicker. We thought once we made that jump and decided, okay, this is where I feel drawn to go down this ascended path, soul aligned realities, tapping into those aspects of me. That's what I want to go do. The minute we started going there, we thought it would be faster. But in a way, it cannot be faster, because we can't have it all ripped away. We can't have all those veils come down at one time. I mean, some people have that happen, and a lot of them have a hard time kind of holding on to any version of reality when that does happen, because it's too fast, it's too quick, and our human brain can't even fathom it. It has no way to really fathom it in the first place, but it's a gift to us for it to be slower. What feels slower than we would expect it to be, but when you look back, it was pretty fast. How long did it take you to build your human life? From a child to when you started your ascension life, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? And then I completely tore it all down, rebuilt it, changed, and living in ascended aspects of me, because we have a lot of ascended aspects, embracing galactic aspects, merging everything back together, rebuilding, and that was maybe an 8-year process. Yes, it was intense. I don't want to do it longer. I'm going to just do it more intense and do it for a shorter interval of time. That's kind of ascension. I'm going to go through a lot. And to our human, because we expect a turnaround, we have this thing with the metaphysical that all of a sudden it's there, and some of that is just kind of what's been put out on it. Like you think about it and it'll be there, and if you put your mind to it or you put your consciousness to it, all of a sudden it'll be there. And there's a truth to that, and you can get to that point. But there's a lot of human programming, a lot of emotions in the body, a lot of stuff in the way of that type of turnaround time. It takes a while for that to get to where you're not going to read the book The Secret and all of a sudden be able to get anything you want anytime. One, you're projecting it from an ego place because it's stuff you want. Might not be aligned for you to have it. So there's a whole issue there, and I did a couple videos on that, so I'm not going to rehash that right now. But there's too much in the way. Your vibration is too low. You're talking about pure alchemy at that stage of ascension, where anything you want, you can create almost effortlessly because you have no resistance in the body. There's no fear in the body. None of that stuff is getting in your way, and you still might be clearing it time to here and there, but there's pockets of it, maybe deep pockets of it, but you're kind of tipped the scale, and there's more. Your vibration is so high, you're able to do those things. But that is not right away, and it really can't be. Once you start going through certain parts of ascension, you kind of understand how much is there to clear, how much fear, how much control, how much anger, how much blame, how much shame, how much sadness, how much grief. There's a bunch of it, and that stuff is in the way of being at that point. And by the time you get to that point, you don't have all that stuff in the way telling you, well, I want to have this, I want to have this, I want to have this. You're not a selfish child wanting to have everything. You've kind of become a divine being wanting to create things for other people, creating a reality for others that also supports yours. It's a supportive, it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not a take, which is what our human does. I refer back to the scene in Jaws when everyone stomps all over everybody to get out of there, get out of the water. These are just places you're gonna go. When you're in your ascension process, and ascension is when you're ascending your consciousness past your human consciousness. It is you're no longer letting human consciousness make your decisions. You're going to higher consciousness, higher aspects of yourself. You're analyzing everything. You're able to see things. And sometimes you don't even have to analyze it. You just know. You just know. And I can say that, and until you just have a moment where you just know, you're not going to get it. But when you know, and it happens, and maybe when it happens for the first time, you're going to be like, all right, I get it. I understand. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. All right. I won't be gone so long next time. All right, keep practicing the art of intuition.